boring, or they can't see how someone could be having an incredible life by not drinking, is because their life, and this is innocent, like it's been kind of, a lot of that joy has been stripped out by the mechanics of imbibing this substance for so long. So that definitely is a way in which, time recalibration, the system, just kind of homeostasis and getting back into balance again, and everything, like that's a really, really powerful thing that's happening. So
I was just going to ask you, Sam, if you're going to tell us about your cheese. I just remembered you didn't tell us which cheese you like best.
what was the question? Was it what my favorite?
Like if you could only ever live with one cheese.
I did actually think about this today, as in, well, at various points this week, it did pop up in my head.
And
I think
Drum roll.
I'm going to have to go for a solid cheddar, like a good quality cheddar. Because to be honest, like I thought about, could it be brie? Could it be blue cheese, mozzarella? And then I thought, look, with a good cheddar, you can kind of make a bit of a weird pizza. You can definitely do cheese on toast, which is banging. So it covers cheese on toast. It covers cheese and crackers. It goes, it goes with, I just thought it was basically the all-rounder.
Cheese versatility.
Is one of the most versatile cheeses, without a doubt. And makes you live longer, right?
I don't know, is that proven?
According to all the science.
Yeah,
if you eat 100 grams of cheese a day, I think you live on average something like 18 years longer than people that don't, something like that. This is how I should add, that is not true. This is literally how misinformation gets spread on the internet. So not true, as far as I know. Well, it could be true.
Goes viral with cheese nonsense.
The news we've been waiting to hear.
Cheesy news. Oh, God, you've totally thrown me off.
Good, sorry.
So yeah, there you go. There you go. There's the cheese update. But today we're going to be talking about why sobriety, unlike cheese, why sobriety feels so boring at the beginning. And it's funny because we were like playing around with some ideas and some titles and having a look at the kinds of things that people talk about. And this was one of the things that was coming up. And it's going to be interesting to talk to it, because I can understand on one hand that it can be a bit more kind of like settled, less rock and roll, less kind of roller coaster ride in sobriety. But at the same time, I wonder, like, is it less boring? Like people talk about, maybe part of this is also talking about the pink cloud that people often talk about, then the normalization of becoming alcohol free and how we can be a lot more kind of stable, and there's there's the chemicals not in the system, so there's you're not going up and down with the drug in your system all the time, and maybe we are kind of habituated to these intense feelings and experiences. But I don't know, it'd be an interesting one to talk about, whether it's actually even true. Like, is it true that it's boring for a while? It's going to be some people's experience. What do you two think people mean by that?
Well, the reason why I think this is a cracking episode is because it's a perception. So my perception would have been that sobriety was boring and I wouldn't want to go anywhere near it. So at the beginning of the whole thing, like I didn't want to stop drinking because I would have had some layers of belief around it is boring and that it's a lesser experience somehow, that it's not as fun. Because I had so many experiences wrapped up in drinking that I decided were fun because of drinking, but all of that had laid unexamined. So going into this new world of like this bewildered world of like, oh, like I'm about to not drink anymore ever, and I don't know how to live as a sober person. But I was intrigued and I was excited because I had a sense that it wasn't what I thought all these years that I'd told myself what sobriety would be like, if I'd even thought about it. And then there was this entry into it, and I just got the sense, oh my God, it's nothing like I'd thought that it would be. And so this is why I think this is a cracking episode to talk about, because I don't think I'll be the only one that has that perception of sobriety being boring. And then, as we know, like you get into it and it's an absolute like gold mine of wonder. Like it's just been extraordinary. The stuff.
Gold mine of wonder.
A wonder mine? A wonder mine.
A wonder mine.
I have to say, so you're right. It is a widespread perception. And I'm about to say one of the most controversial things I have ever said on video. I've said this
Shit, are you
publicly
sure you want to drop?
before. I get so much shit when I say this, and there's a reason I'm saying it, but I really fucking hate the show Friends. I hate
Oh
it.
yeah,
I get like,
know this.
yes, people get so mad at me for saying this,
Wow,
but
this is gonna
there's one Friends reference. There's one Friends reference I make. I feel like I have to say that I don't like it before I make it. There is an episode of Friends called Fun Bobby. Do you guys remember Fun Bobby?
Yes, I know.
Right.
Fun
So
Bobby.
he's this fun friend that quits drinking and then he just becomes Bobby. And like that to me, and if you watch that episode, don't because the show sucks. But if you have watched the episode, like you'll see like this sort of transformation, this sort of cartoonified version of the transformation. That is what is in our heads about quitting drinking. And that like everything becomes boring, everything becomes flat. And to an extent, that can be true. Because if you think about like this roller coaster ride you're on while you're drinking of, being drunk and then hungover and all the emotions and the shame, and like that's like big and that's loud. And it is true, like at first when that goes away, it takes us a minute to adjust. And it is also true that like a lot of times those first couple of days, people feel like, I don't know, like watching Netflix, just like chilling out. And so I can see how people who drink might actually kind of carry this idea. But my experience, Ellie, matches yours all the way, which is like, it's infinitely more interesting. It's infinitely more engaging. I'm so much more in touch with like how I feel, in touch with other people, like doing things. Like my life seems to be, I used to talk about it as like, in The Wizard of Oz, when it's black and white, and then all of a sudden it goes to technicolor. It feels like that's what happened. Even though I used to feel like that was what life was, this cycle of, drinking and recovering and all this stuff that I was in. And it did feel like big and dramatic. When I quit after a few days, man, everything turned to technicolor and it was incredible.
Are you the Wizard of Oz? That's the most important question.
This is not, why would you ask me that on camera, Sam? We'll talk later.
Know.
I'll tell you the truth later.
Okay, very good. I wonder how much of this is like, this projection of, well, I guess it depends what people mean by it's boring. So there's more like there's less going on in the system. Well, maybe, but for other people, stopping drinking can ask us to, we're asked to start feeling a lot of stuff that we might not have felt for a while as well. So not necessarily, right? The human experience can be pretty expansive. Like it's incredible, what we can come to experience in those first few months. So yeah, I don't know, but I guess like it's interesting because I think there's definitely something to the story that's the cultural story that we have. And a lot of people who are dependent on alcohol, addicted to alcohol, whatever degree they're kind of in relationship with alcohol, because it becomes the kind of like elixir of life, because it becomes the thing that everybody wants to do and go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday night. It's exciting, all this kind of stuff. And then, the other people that don't drink are considered to be kind of like, oh, those boring fuckers over there who like go on hikes or some shit or wake up early in the morning or like, oh, you mean you're in bed by 9:30 or whatever. We have this kind of, and to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and lay judgment. Like I've been there. I've been the person that's trying to convince people to drink more. I've been the person that's playing. Like I get it because unconsciously at the time, or even consciously to some extent, I thought, well, I need this shit to have fun, but surely everybody else needs this stuff to have fun. And like I didn't know how to let go and lose my shit or like in a positive way, like without a drug in my system. And so I was just projecting that on everybody else and making assumptions about everyone else, in spite of the fact that there were a bunch of people in my life throughout my life who haven't drunk and who have had all sorts of fun that I've had all sorts of awesome times with. So I think this is a complex thing to unpack, actually. There's all sorts of competing, or just maybe not competing, but it's multifactored in terms of what it is that might lead someone to see it in this way. If somebody feels like they have to pull away from life when they stop drinking, that, they can't go out to restaurants or they can't go for a dance or all that kind of stuff, which is quite common for a lot of people. They think they need to like fully avoid life for a bit or cocoon and that might be wisdom for some people. I honor that. But for a lot of us, for me, life has got far more in terms of the adventures that I've been on and the stuff that I've been up to and the feeling that I have when I'm doing them and the amount I can do is in like, if I go away, there's way more time to explore now because I'm not laying around in bed or hungover or just kind of only half there because I'm pissed or whatever, like there's way more time for fun. It's the opposite of boring. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that, like, particularly the last few years, like, I never would have done those things as a drinker. I never would, or I've always wanted to do X, Y, Z, and, well, guess what? I never got round to it because I was too busy either drinking or shoehorning drinking into other activities. And then also just not having kind of like that kind of confidence in myself to go and do those sorts of things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I think it has, particularly like my experience as a regular drinker was I just was kind of diminishing myself over time.
Yeah.
And, it's the thing. And if it's not the thing, like I said, you're kind of shoehorning it into every activity. So, and, and just at like a physical level, like you're not going to have the same level of energy, or you're not going to feel as good. So to your point, Sam, of like, waking up on a morning and going, doing the thing, or exploring more, or just having energy to go through the day, like
Yeah.
it's been wild for me.
Along those lines, Ellie, like I feel like when I reflect back on while I was drinking and then like the difference between my time drinking and not drinking, I feel like alcohol kind of papers over some of the interesting spaces to
Mm.
feel like emotionally. I felt like I kind of had two settings. I was either like sad and anxious or happy and drunk. And it just felt like I was oscillating between those two. And it's almost like the alcohol and the effects of the alcohol were not allowing me to like really go into my emotions, right? I was using it to run away from them. But what that also meant is that I wasn't experiencing this wide variety that I now experience. And it
Mm.
just changes, like the way life feels changes because we're receptive to so many more things. Whereas before I was constantly thinking about like, okay, how's tonight going to play out? That's never far from our minds. You mentioned like shoehorning stuff in to activities where it doesn't belong. It's like, yeah, like that just takes up such a huge space. But when that isn't there, and when that sort of like, I'll call it like a haze over life, when that kind of lifts, there's so much more to think and to feel than I had any idea of. Right. That was a huge surprise to me when I quit.
Mm.
One thing that's true I was just thinking of one way in which I think the statement why are things a bit flat, or why is life a bit boring when you first stop drinking or go sober or whatever. One thing that is playing out for sure is there's a process in terms of recalibrating the system and down regulating. We talk about dopamine response, and we've been used
Yeah.
to imbibing a substance that's been impacting our system in many different ways. We won't have time to fully unpack that all today, but one of them, for example, is your system's got used to higher amounts of neurotransmitters such as dopamine. It's downregulated your receptors for those things, and so as alcohol has become the most important thing and nothing else seems to be as exciting, to talk about kind of like hedonistic set point, where these things we used to love, like going to the cinema, reading a book, having sex, like all this stuff had a certain level of experience to it or intensity to it, has kind of been dialed down because your brain dials it down in the face of alcohol, but it does it for everything, right? But then over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, like that kind of reverses your system kind of normalizes again. And Ellie, you've spoken about that experience of like childlike joy, and it does, like, it comes back. I love, for example, I went to the cinema with my brother the other week, and it's just great. I just love it. Or just going out for a meal, or reading a book with the sun on your face, or less so in the UK, whatever it is, just doing the quote unquote simple things that most people might see as quote unquote boring, right?
Yeah.
But actually, the reason why most people view that as boring, or they can't see how someone could be having an incredible life by not drinking, is because their life, and this is innocent, like it's been kind of, a lot of that joy has been stripped out by the mechanics of
Yes.
imbibing this substance for so long. So that definitely is a way in which time recalibration, the system, just kind of homeostasis and getting back into balance again, and
Mhm.
everything, like, that's a really, really powerful thing that's happening. And I just say to anybody, that's, we want to be realistic here. For a lot of us, we might have been drinking over the course of a long time, And so it may take a while for that to kick in. It doesn't look, we're always living in, it doesn't mean that in any moment we can't be experiencing peace and contentment and joy in spite of the fact that our system has kind of downregulated some of those neurotransmitters. Like, of course that can happen. People talk about the pink cloud that happens often quite early for people. It's like this like, oh my God, like I don't have to drink anymore. Like I'm kind of living in this enhanced experience of life. But there's a neurological reality to imbibing a substance for a while, and it takes a little while to sort itself out. So you won't have felt the full benefit after 30 days. Sometimes you're going to need a bit longer. I think giving ourselves the grace to experience a year and just see what we, the differences, that is a powerful length of time. And for some of us, we may have been drinking for 50, 60, even 70 years, some people that I've worked with. So that we all have. Yeah.
There's so many people. I'd be interested to see how many folks you've had like this. And I had an experience like this. One day, it's like, sunny in the UK, Sam, and I was laid out in the garden.
Well, it's sunny today. Was it today?
No, it wasn't today. It's
Oh,
cold.
shit, it must have been the other day in history.
The other day.
It happened.
The other one day of summer. And I looked over my shoulder, and I was just caught by like the blades of grass, and I was like, oh, like how beautiful. I was like just captured in the moment of the blades of grass. And then I kind of had another moment where the ego kicks in of like, who the fuck am I getting all excited about blades of grass? But this happened, like people come to me in coaching and they go, there was a lady in our membership a little while ago, the dewy grass, like transfixed by the dewy grass. And I'm like, oh, there you go. You've caught it. But it's just the beauty and the wonder of life as it is. And there's so much, it's so rich, it's so diverse, it's so goldmine of wonder, like it is. It's all there, but it's not being present to it, You miss
Cheese
it.
gets better, everything gets better. Cheese gets better.
Cheese gets better. That's a t-shirt.
Cheese can only get better. I should probably not do that. Copyright infringement. Oh God, we've stuffed it now.
Who's that dude? He'd be really cross with you. Was it Peter Cunner or somebody?
I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, no, you're right. And that can happen. Like, I just think that can happen at any time. Like we can fall awake to the beauty of the moment, no matter what's going on for us, no matter what drug we've been imbibing or whatever. And there's something to be said for, kind of if our system is full of something that's been impacting us, and it just stacks the deck in our favor of starting to come to see the beauty more and more often when we're not full of like a drug in our system, right? That's the washing machine metaphor that I often talk about. It feels like we're going round and round and round. We're kind of going up 1 minute, then we're clattering the bottom in the mornings when we wake up and all that. And like to be free of that and to kind of be in contentment and to be, and by the way, like to me, I don't know how you two see it. Maybe this is a nice place to kind of just explore just before we kind of land the plane, is the quiet experience of, even maybe there are those moments of kind of like bliss where we just kind of really notice the droplet on the grass or whatever it might be. And there's this quiet sense of ease that can move into life. Now, being at ease is something that I think that a lot of people are opening up to be able to see.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the menu for me for the longest time. And Scott, we've been talking a lot on some content we've been making recently about kind of urgency and how we're kind of ramped up and how it's, we're kind of having these tech and the way that we relate with social media and everything, we're kind of being ramped up by these things. And actually it really is where it's at to kind of come to live a more settled life, to kind of, and then the volume on that kind of ticks up bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And that kind of the beauty of just being able to just recognize how everything's a peak experience, that we don't need to be chasing a drug experience or a drinking experience all the time, which is the pattern that we tend to fall into. That it doesn't have to be like that is a beautiful thing, but it can take a little while to come to realize that. It took me a while to come to realize that. For a while, I just used to think that life wasn't enough. I used to think you need alcoholic drink or you need something on top, basically. And to come to realize in my own way, life is so much more than enough. Life's this incredible mystery that we're just living, and then we are it. There's no us and life. We are it. It's just unfolding. Like, that's such a beautiful thing to come to see. And that opens to us more and more profoundly when we've got less substances in my experience, right? That's for all of the highs and the lows and everything that these things can give us. I personally think the deepest things that we can come to see and experience are in sober spaces, if you like. That just looks how it works to me.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Like, what was coming to me as you were talking is that that sort of deeper experience of life is not something we really understand until we live it. And it's really difficult to live it with substances in our body. And so it's like you can't even see it. Like, it's like if you had told drinking me how I see things now and what life feels like to me now, I would have been like, what are you even talking about? Like, it wouldn't fit into my conception of the world or my life. And that happens from living free of substance. It's like you allow yourself to take this deeper step, but it isn't even, you can't, at least for me, I couldn't even see it while I was drinking. Like, I had no idea it was there.
I think there is probably a dose response thing here, to be honest. Like, there's going to be lots of people who you have a drink every now and again or smoke a spliff every now and again or whatever. And it's just not to an extent where it's kind of fully putting the haze over things.
Sure.
I mean, I love a joyful life free of alcohol, and I understand that that's not everybody's way of living. And so just to kind of, because I think for me, like I was drinking every day, every evening. And so that definitely has more of an impact.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't, yeah. So but it's just a really interesting thing to talk about. Like whether, are we truly, is it really adding anything to our life? Is it really bringing anything to us? And I think sometimes giving ourselves the opportunity to have some time away to really see that. Is a life without alcohol actually boring, or is that just a story we've been told? Is it something that we've been believing because we can't imagine, like you said earlier, we can't imagine a life without alcohol? Like just because we haven't gone there doesn't mean that it's not an incredible thing. And so I think a lot of people are starting to realize, wow, I drink less and actually I do have less hangovers. I do actually sleep better. There is less impact on my body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, this is the thing. It's so personal. And I think, the point you're just making about like the level at which you're drinking is going to be a highly individualized thing. And kind of the more that you are drinking, the more regularly to a greater extent, then yeah, it's probably going to, like that haze is going to be thicker for sure. But what has anybody got to lose by just seeing? Because if I'd have been firm in that belief to the extent that it was immovable, oh no, sober life is boring. Like honestly, I couldn't, like the last thing I wanted to do was stop drinking. I wanted to drink less, but I didn't want to stop because I was so convinced that a sober life was like just secondary somehow, not like that was missing out to such a high degree. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And it's not, like that's my experience, and it's not about like convincing anybody else. But what I would want to convey is like I would have missed out on like everything. My life's completely changed in the last like 6.5 years. I'd have missed out on all of that. That to me is a really missing out. Like my life's changed beyond any recognition. Like it's completely different. The things that I've experienced, the things that I've done, and like I could have got in the way of that just with something that's completely thought generated and not true.
God, wow, that feels like a nice place to leave it. I think. What do you reckon?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, it's almost like we planned it. Look at that. Right. Well, I don't think we've got much else to add. We'd love to hear what your favorite cheese is, of course.
Let's
And
keep
there's loads
the
of
cheese
ways that
talk
you can
going.
tell us. Yeah. There's, reach out, come join the Facebook group or whatever. And yeah, we'll put anything that we're up to, any cool shit that we're doing, any free calls, all that kind of stuff. We'll put links to that in the show notes. So you can go just have a look below if you want to come and hang out with us in live. Then, yeah, the opportunities will be there. Cool.
All right. Bye.
See you soon.